Hi everyone, Dillinger here. Welcome back to another installment of Overkill Reviews, BangerTV's weekly heavy metal review show. I'm back in the Banger Bar giving you another progressive metal review. What have I been up to lately? Well, I finally cut my hair, so now the metal fashion police from the last video can get off my back. We're not here to talk about my fashion choices, we're here to talk about one of the most celebrated bands within progressive metal.
I crave all the lies. Watch the distant fires, distrusting what we've done. A shallow grave of freedom, a new light that's just begun. I'm the fortune teller who doesn't know his past, giving hope and new memories to the future rising sun.
It's the new studio album by Between the Buried and Me called Colors 2, out today on Sumerian Records. By the way, that song Fix the Era is super cool. Anyways, we're gonna save that part for the review, but let's get into the bio. Between the Buried and Me have been around for a long time. They formed in 2000 in Raleigh, North Carolina, and these guys have become one of the best and most recognized bands within prog. They started out as more of a hardcore and metalcore kind of influenced band, and over time they started to get way more experimental with their sound. Their second record, The Silent Circus, and their third album, Alaska, really showed that the band was starting to branch out more, adding in more genre-bending stuff, kind of adding in more prog influences into the mix as well. After extensive touring throughout North America, they were kind of at a point in their career where they needed to make a statement. It was kind of a do or die moment for the band. Through perseverance, they spawned one of the most influential and celebrated albums within progressive metal, that being 2007's Colors. Fast forward to 2020, the band has found themselves in a similar state like they did back in 2007. The band needed to make another statement, as Tommy Giles Rogers, the band's vocalist and keyboardist, stated. That's part of the reason why we named it Colors 2. We were in a similar spot. Back then we just had gotten done with the Ozfest. We were wondering, where do we belong in the music scene? We still struggle with that. At both of these moments in our career, we decided to just be ourselves and write the best album we can. We came out guns blazing, and I feel like it's some of our most creative material in a long time. Also, a fun fact about this band, they actually have a prehistoric starfish named after them called the Amphilinema interceptolsepmi. I think I kind of butchered that, but it just goes to show that their influence goes beyond music. Now, the band stated that this is not necessarily a concept album. In fact, it is still considered sonically a sequel to Colors, but it's not narratively speaking a concept record, if I'm making any sense. So the question that I had going into this review is, how does this compare to the original Colors, one of the most beloved prog albums of all time? It's a tall order, but let me see how they did. Actually, did the sequel beat the prequel? Okay, I know I'm hearing sounds of crickets, and that's the only Between the Buried and Me pun that I'll ever say in this review. But anyways, let's talk about the record. There's a lot packed into this record, and going through each track individually would be a task that would take all day. So rather than talk about the songs by themselves, I want to talk about my experience listening to this record. Colors 2 is a great example of why progressive metal will always be an intriguing genre for not only metalheads, but for music fans. While Between the Buried and Me are no stranger to incorporating many different influences into their sound, this album takes that narrative and goes much further with it than on previous releases. If you're interested in diversity of sound, this is a record with a plethora of various musical styles. It's like the band asked themselves, how many genres are we going to throw into this record? And the band said, yes. This album literally has every musical genre that you can think of represented. Latin and rockabilly in Revolution and Limbo. Gospel in Fix the Error, which has, by the way, an insane trading drum solo between Mike Portnoy, Naveen Copperwise, Ken Schulk, and Blake Richardson. It's just perfection. As a drummer, you can't help but look at this song and just go, holy crap, I want to go and practice. There's also this cool folk metal section that they throw in, which is also a really cool addition. There's also medieval music in Never Seen Future Shock, and symphonic and classical influences in Bad Habits. All of these elements are incorporated into their own signature sound, like the arpeggiated runs followed by the big open chords, the soaring lead lines, the mixture of different vocal styles, the heavy breakdowns. The combination of their style mixed with various others makes these songs very memorable, innovative, and entertaining to listen to. It's unpredictable song structure done correctly. It takes you on a journey, and when you think it goes into one direction, it blindsides you and it goes into this other part that you weren't even anticipating. Take, for example, a song like Never Seen Future Shock, how it starts off with this heavy odd meter section to this thrash hardcore part, then it goes into this medieval Jethro Tull section before heading back into this really melodic chorus that has influences of synthwave, alt rock, and hard rock. You're blown away by this because this is all packed into the first 3 minutes of a near 12-minute marathon of a song. It's very innovative songwriting, and the band takes pride in that, always challenging themselves musically, and I think that's the reason why each album of theirs sounds so different from each other. Even though the band has stated that the writing process was grueling, it still feels like the band had a lot of fun with this record, and you just feel that the band was really inspired to write this. You know, it's funny, you hear some of the songs and you'll have like these little moments of like these cartoon sounds, these whistles, these different kind of vocal runs, especially on a track like Prehistory, and you just can't help but laugh that you're kind of in on the joke with them. Their songs have really matured with the use of odd meters. I especially love the groove in Never Seen Future Shock, how they go from 7/8 into these various other odd time signatures, and I also loved the groove in The Future Behind Us where they incorporated 12/4 to 8/4 basically throughout the whole entire song. I know 12/4 and 8/4 are not necessarily odd meters, but the pulse of it is really weird, and the way that they place all of the notes is really prog. All of these songs are chaotic, unconventional, and very enjoyable. When I listened to this record, I got the same feeling when I was listening to the First Colors record back in high school. The beginning of the Double Helix of Extinction starts off like the Decade of Statues off of the First Colors record before jumping into entirely new territory. It's those subtle Easter eggs they throw in that really help tie the two records together. And there's also references of Ants of the Sky and the Revolution in Limbo. It makes you want to re-listen to the record because you want to find all the subtle Easter eggs that they throw in throughout the whole entire record. But my favorite song is the last song on the record, Human as Hell, Another One with Love. And it starts off very similar to White Walls. And while I was listening to it, I had the biggest grin on my face. It instantly made me reminisce about the first time I heard White Walls and how this one is a perfect sequel to that song. It hooks you in with nostalgia first and foremost, and then it leads into this new melodic line, this mellow death part, this tech death part, this breakdown that crushes, then it adds this kind of surfer yacht rock part that immediately is followed by this like super soaring chorus that's filled with like noise rock and death metal, and it jumps into this like acoustic vibe. There's just so much packed into it. This has got to be one of the best songs Between the Buried and Me has ever written. And of course, the production of Jamie King is always solid. He's kind of like the unofficial sixth member of the band. There's not really a lot to say about the production other than it's perfect. It's very obvious I like this album, and I couldn't really think of anything negative to say about it. So what I am going to say is why I think people might not like this record. It's a very musician-friendly record, and some of the subtleties that they throw in throughout the whole entire record might be kind of misinterpreted as musician wankering. The chaotic nature of the record and the blending of different subgenres could be a little bit off-putting. If you're a fan of just one particular style, like if you're a die-hard metal fan and you're not really a fan of any other style of music, then this might not be the record for you. At its core, it's a metal record, but there's so much more to it than just that. And if you're a very open-minded person about music, then you would have a greater appreciation for Between the Buried and Me. Sequels in any form of media are often viewed as inferior to the original, whether it be due to battling nostalgia, the changing of members, and many seeing this as a soulless cash grab. Between the Buried and Me have managed to do something that I think was impossible. They made a record that rivals Colors. It's a bold statement, but I'm sticking by it. It's a damn good record. The production is solid, the songs are fantastic, and now, if you're a prog fan, this is mandatory listening. You absolutely have to listen to this record. That's your homework from now until the end of the year, is to listen to this record. And I know I've said in my last video that Dune was my favorite album this year, but as much as I love the Dune record, this one tops it. For me, this album is without a doubt a 5 out of 5. Can we make it a 6 out of 5 if that's possible? Like, is that, I know it's mathematically impossible to give it a 6 out of 5, but this is a prog review. All right, it's time for some shoutouts. Here are a couple of awesome records that came out today. First up, we have Infinite Granite by Deafheaven out on Sargent House. Next up, we have Primordial Arcania by Wolves in the Throne Room, which came out on Relapse Records. And finally, we have Anthology by Carcosa, which came out on Blood Blast Records. Now, if you're a fan of Between the Buried and Me, I would also recommend checking out these records if you haven't. First up, I wanted to recommend Death of a Dead Day by Sikth, Fortress by Approach the Hero, In Contact by Caligula's Horse, and finally, Ironworks by the Dillinger Escape Plan. So what did you think of Colors 2? Let me know in the comments section below. I very much enjoyed it. Let me know if you found any of the other subtle Easter eggs, and I will be back to talk about another prog band, but we'll just have to wait and see.